Hi everyone, this video is about musical intervals. First I wanted to mention that my setup here is using a free digital audio workstation called BandLab, and I'll talk more about that at the end of the video, but let's get right to the intervals. So if you hit the same note twice, that's a C, then that's called a unison. If you hit that note plus the next note, that interval is called a second. 1, 2. So it's the second note from the one you started at. And similarly, if you go 1 and 3, that's called a third. Actually, it's called a major third, and I'll get into why it's called a major third in a bit, but let's just go through the names. So we have a second, we have a third, we have a fourth, we have a fifth, we have a sixth, we have a seventh, which is a major seventh, and then we have an octave. Rather than an eighth, you call it an octave. And the intervals just keep going. After the octave, you have the ninth, then the 10th, then the 11th, and so on. There's just one kind of funny thing about these intervals that I wanted to point out. If you take an octave and you add to that a second, then the interval you get is a ninth. So what they're telling you is that 8 plus 2 equals 9. So why is that? Well, the musicians have chosen a one-based counting system. So they start, the first note is 1, and then the first interval is a second, and then a third, as we saw. And whenever you do something like that, when you have a one-based counting system, your addition is going to be off by 1. So for example, if you had a fourth and you added to that a fifth, you got an octave. So 4 plus 5 equals 8. Again, off by 1. Okay, so that was a major scale starting in C. C is easy to find on the keyboard because it's the white key before the two black keys. And if you play the 8 notes starting at C, that's the C major scale. Now if you back down 2 notes and start at A, those 8 notes are actually a different scale. It's the A minor scale, and you can hear the difference. See how that has a different sound to it than this? And the reason for that different sound, if we start at A and we move up one whole step, that's an interval of a second, as we know. If we move up to the third note, that's a minor third, and it's different from a major third. A major third would be here. So what's going on? Well, the trick is the piano is kind of concealing what's going on. The white keys on the piano are not evenly spaced, but the spacing of all the keys, if you include the white ones and the black ones together, are evenly spaced. So when you go from C to C sharp to D sharp to E, each of those steps is called a half step. And so we've gone 4 half steps. There's this one, this one, this one, and this one. That's 4 half steps. And the 4 half steps make a major third. If we start at A, we do 1 half step, 1 half step, 2 half steps, 3 half steps. So the difference between a minor third and a major third is the difference between 3 steps and 4 steps. Now, very conveniently, a half step on a piano is the same as 1 fret on a guitar. So you're naturally seeing the full layout of all the tones when you play on a guitar, and it's just slightly hidden when you play on the piano. But the music terminology comes from the piano keyboard, so you have to get used to that. Now let's look at the A minor scale, like we did with the C major scale. So starting with A, which is 2 notes below the C, so it's right here, You have the unison and the second, and the distance is the same in the major scale and the minor scale, so you don't have to distinguish between a major second and a minor second. It's just a second. But with the third, we saw the third is 3 half steps, whereas the minor third is 3 half steps, and the major third is 4 half steps. So it has a different name. We call that the minor third. But when we get to the fourth, things have evened out again. So that's the same. You just call that a fourth. This is a fifth. Again, that's the same between the major and minor scales. The sixth is a half step less. The minor 6 is a half step less than the major 6. So this is a minor 6, and this is a minor 7th. Again, a half step less than a major 7th. And then we get to the octave, and it continues. We have the 9th, the minor 10th, and the 11th. So those are the names I wanted to teach you. Just sticking with 1 through 7, we have the first, the second, the minor third, the major third, the fourth, the fifth, the minor 6th, the major 6th, the minor 7th, the major 7th, and the octave. And there are other intervals in there that I haven't talked about, and they have names, but you probably won't need them for a while. I just wanted to give you the most common names. That those are probably all I'll be using in my discussions. One other thing I wanted to point out while we're talking about the different scales is the thing that defines whether something is a major or minor scale is the particular pattern of whole steps and half steps. So the major scale, we have a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So 2 whole steps, 1 half step, 3 whole steps, 1 half step. With the minor scale, this is called the natural minor. We have a whole step, and then a half step, and then a whole step, and a half step, and a whole step, and a whole step. That's our octave again. For example, if you were to start at A, and instead of playing a minor scale, you wanted to play a major scale, you just use the same pattern of whole steps and half steps that the C major scale has. So it goes whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And you'll notice that I used 3 black keys. We used C sharp, we used an F sharp, and we used a G sharp. And so that's the reason why the key of A major has 3 sharps in it. We could do the same thing with C. We could start at C, and instead of playing a C major scale, we could play a C minor scale by copying the pattern of whole steps and half steps that we learned from the A minor scale. So it would be whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. So one thing these patterns have in common, because there are 12 steps, half steps in an octave, each scale has 5 whole steps and 2 half steps in some order. And there's other scales besides the 2 I showed you. There's different variations of the minor scale, for example. And there's things called modes, where if you start at any particular key on the piano keyboard, say you start at a D, and reel off those 8 notes in succession, that'll give you a particular pattern of whole steps and half steps. And that's called, starting at D, that's called the Dorian mode, and other modes are available. You can do one for every key of the keyboard, basically. And that wraps up the discussion of the intervals. Last, I wanted to talk a little bit about my setup here. The software you see in the background is BandLab. It's a free digital audio workstation that runs in your browser, so you can get it up and running right away. You don't actually even need to download anything. And even the keyboard can be used. Well, first of all, I should say there are different kinds of tracks, so you don't have to use a keyboard. There's audio tracks, and drum tracks and other things like that. And it has loops and things, so you can start making music right away if you're interested. For the keyboard, on the instrument track, it mapped the keys of the computer keyboard to keys on the piano keyboard. So the letter K, the key K is C and L is D, etc. And there's H is A. So you can play your computer keyboard as if it were a piano keyboard, but I'm not actually using it that way. I bought a MIDI keyboard. So a MIDI keyboard has a USB connector on it, and it takes the keys that you're pressing and sends MIDI information over the USB connector to the computer. So it gives you not only the key you're pressing, but also how hard you're hitting it, so you can get a little more control over your sound that way. So this is what the MIDI keyboard looks like. This is a full-sized one. Let's see. Roll it back and forth so you can see it there. So that's all I wanted to mention for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, learned a few things, and I'll see you around. Bye now.